This content contains podcast. This adult contains podcast content. Adult content, be advised. Enjoy the episode.
Apologise right
I'm
now.
very sorry. My envy and jealousy has made me mean.
There, she's yawning.
It's appropriate, this episode.
It is actually, yeah. Bagpuss gave a big yawn.
Yeah.
We've had a trying week, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
So we fell off of Spotify. We're back on Spotify. Sorry about that. That's what I was referring to.
Jesus
Thank
Christ,
you for
yeah.
all the... Thank you for... I mean, you guys said that people messaged being like, where have you gone? So thank you for the concern.
Yeah, essentially we moved hosting sites and
Hello, Acast.
and
You
now
sexy thing.
our data's kind of reset, so I'm just trying to recoup some of that.
Shout out to Buzzsprout support. They were really helpful.
Thank you.
Honestly, yeah.
Thank you, ladies from Buzzsprout support who told us how to get back on Spotify and therefore leave Buzzsprout. Like, you were very helpful in leaving Buzzsprout.
So
Thank
even though
you.
our impressions and stats have gone down, we know you're all there. We speak to you on Instagram every day, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
How has our week been apart from that, though?
Yeah, not a bad week.
I had to call my mum yesterday to be like, I'm so sorry I've not spoken to you in
Busy.
a really long time. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just really busy.
Yeah, so Elsie had to work a day this week that she doesn't normally work. Me and Laura had a trip to the hospital this morning. Oh my god, here's a story. We were sitting in the waiting room at the hospital, and there's a room in hospitals called the sluice, right? Now,
It sounds like an overflow tray.
yeah. A sluice is like a waterway, right,
Yeah.
basically. I had an idea of what a sluice in a hospital was, but we Googled it to be sure, because I was like, what a weird thing to call a room.
It just said sluice on the door.
Yeah. And by the fact that the window in the door had like paper on it so you couldn't see in it, and it had a note on the door that said, do not leave open, this door is to be closed at all times.
Do not open, this is the sluice.
It's where they take human waste, basically, right?
Ah, right.
And Laura said, what a horrible thing to call a room. Why don't you call it the goodbye room?
And then I immediately
because
went,
that
no!
sounds like the chapel of rest.
It
Yeah,
sounds
no,
the
I was
most
like-
don't hug me, I'm scared thing Laura's ever said. Like, welcome to the goodbye room.
Because I immediately was like, no, if you have one of those in a hospital, immediately, that's for something else.
The
Not
goodbye
in your
room.
family unless you have a landline.
It was so funny. But yeah,
The sluice. Why is it called that?
so me and Laura have been up for a long time.
Meant to be at the hospital quite early.
Yeah, they had an appointment at 8. I had an appointment just round the corner.
We had a joint hospital. We have a joint bank account and we have joint hospital appointments. It was for a problem we have as a couple.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Take that, Meg's boyfriend.
I was
We
supposed
have
to...
couple problems. Why am I saying it like
Yeah,
that?
I'm not sure.
Dawn and
I'm not
Pete
sure
over
why
here.
you're doing that with your legs either. Yeah.
No one else can see it.
She's being coy.
Thank you.
I was supposed to have an appointment at 10 o'clock today, just round the corner, so I didn't have to be up quite as
It's
early.
doctor day.
It was doctor day for all of us. Basically, I was supposed to be sat here today as someone who has had at least one cervical smear, and I'm not. It's been postponed. So that's another week to worry about that.
Hopefully by the next episode, Elsie will have had one cervical smear.
Hopefully not
Hopefully
two.
not two, yeah.
Because if something goes wrong with the first
Right,
one...
come back for another.
What?
We didn't get it this time. What are you doing then?
When I had mine,
I've lost it.
She was like, "Oh, hang on, I've got to go again," because she didn't get the cervical cells, I guess.
There's only so many places a cervix can be.
No,
Like,
no,
how
I know.
do you miss it?
Like, because you have to, because I don't know if you've ever swabbed your cheeks to like do DNA testing. You have to go quite hard to actually scrape skin cells off.
Oh, right.
So I think she
okay.
just hadn't gone hard enough.
Oh.
So that's another thing to be nervous for.
Great.
It's fine. It's weird, but it didn't hurt. It was just...
You might like it.
I might. I probably won't.
I'm
but
sorry.
You can't rule anything out. Okay, we are doing... we're doing Bagpuss.
Today we're doing the first community selected episode. So a couple of months ago, we put out some polls on Instagram. This was a poll between Bagpuss and Clangers, and Bagpuss swept the floor. It wiped the floor with Clangers, even though we will please eventually do Clangers. Because
Yeah, of course we will, yeah.
Both names are very fun to say, Bagpuss, but Clangers, that's a really fun word to say.
I loved the Clangers as a kid. It just diverts me. I love it.
Obviously, we will have to mention the Clangers in this episode. It is the other Postgate and Firmin big famous show.
Yeah.
So we will obviously mention it, but one of the other reasons we're doing Bagpuss today is because the 14th
12th
is because the 12th is the 50th anniversary of Bagpuss.
The 14th is Valentine's Day, which is St. Valentine's anniversary. So.
Oh, thanks.
That's why you got it mixed.
And the 13th is Pancake Day.
Yeah.
That's
a busy week next week.
It is.
That's the 12th of February 2024, if you're listening in
2025.
Yeah.
or the distant
or
future.
last year.
Or 2044.
Or if you're watching a repeat on Dave.
Yeah. Let's go.
So the way we're going to do this is... Oh, yes, sorry. Later on in the episode, we've actually got a little interview segment with Meg's boyfriend, of all people, because he has interviewed EMILY FIRMIN, daughter of Peter Firmin. We will teach you all about him in a minute. Girl in show. The only human face in the show.
Heads up, you still don't learn his name. Still Meg's boyfriend.
Yeah, still just... Yeah.
He likes to think of himself as like being quite mysterious. That's how he thinks of himself in his head, and that's why I didn't name him, just to give him that. Because he's not, is he? He's not mysterious at all.
No, he's not. He's he did refer to small films as small films. So
that makes it sound like a farmer.
Good impression of my boyfriend, thanks.
Small films.
Small films.
Small films. We've got that section, which obviously will go in somewhere.
Yes.
Because that's just Meg conducting the interview. We only have 3 mics. Send us money. Your reviews, your 5-star reviews are enough. You don't need to send us
Recruit friends to listen.
Exactly. Thank you.
Spread the word.
Yes. We are going to start off by talking about our own history with Bagpuss, how much we remember, that sort of thing. Then there's a bit of a history lesson about how it got made, which is so interesting, and I can't wait to tell you. And then we can just go right into our Bagpuss opinions.
Cool.
Once upon a time, not so long ago, there was a little girl, and her name was Emily. And she had a shop. There it is. It was rather an unusual shop because it didn't sell anything. You see, everything in that shop window was a thing that somebody had once lost, and Emily had found, and brought home to Bagpuss. Emily's cat, Bagpuss. The most important, the most beautiful, the most magical, saggy old cloth cat in the whole wide world. Well now, one day Emily found a thing. And she brought it back to the shop and put it down in front of Bagpuss, who was in the shop window, fast asleep as usual. But then Emily said some magic words. Bagpuss, dear Bagpuss, old fat furry cat puss, wake up and look at this thing that I bring. Wake up, be bright, be golden and light. Bagpuss, oh hear what I sing.
So we've got an unusual episode today, because we've never been able to get information directly from the source. And because it wasn't me, it was my boyfriend who went out and did the legwork for me. We thought it was only fair if we brought him on to talk about it rather than rehashing all of the information. So, hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for finally having me on. It's only taken a year to get me in here.
It's actually been a bit longer than that.
Yeah, well, wasn't it? When was the anniversary? A couple of weeks ago?
The 19th, I think, or the 18th, yeah.
Yeah, so by the time this comes out, a month and a bit.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the fact that we haven't even named you, it feels a bit weird to bring you on.
That's fine. I'm happy to remain Meg's boyfriend.
Everyone else is listening to this in the room, so and Laura can barely contain herself. So you have met Emily Firmin several times. Would you like to tell us how that's come about?
The first time I met her, she was campaigning to stop houses being built on a bit of farmland near the town she now lives in. So it was pure coincidence, but upon realising that we've got this 50th anniversary of Bagpuss coming up, I thought, well, I know someone who knows Bagpuss like the back of their hand, so why not interview her?
And I'm right in thinking you are a journalist, correct?
That you may
Sorry, trainee reporter.
Some may call me that, some may choose to use other words to describe my profession.
So it is easier for you to be able to interview people than it is some weirdo like me, right?
Don't knock yourself, Meg. I think you could do it. But yes.
So this is the second time that you met Emily Firmin.
Yes.
And you were doing a story about the 50th anniversary, which is on the 12th of February this year, which is why we've decided to do this episode at this time, because it's relevant.
Yeah, no, massively relevant. I mean, I think they're bringing out another coin in commemoration of his 50th anniversary, so
they've done stamps as well, haven't they?
Yeah, no, they did a stamp maybe for the 40th one, but yeah, they do roll this stuff out every sort of 10 years. Emily was saying she feels like she basically gets wheeled out every 10 or so years to talk about Bagpuss and then is ignored for the next 10 years.
Well, we're very grateful that she agreed to answer these questions for us. So yes, we sent you off. You were doing your interview with her, and I said very nicely, would you ask her some questions on behalf of us? So we're just going to go through those now. How does that sound?
Sounds good, yeah.
Okay, so the first question I asked you to ask Emily for us was, what's your favourite song from Bagpuss?
So already on the first question, I'm let down because she didn't have a favourite song as such. You know, I think the soundtrack is so... There's so many songs across the 13 episodes. She didn't have a favourite song as such, but she listed The Hamish as her favourite episode and sort of said everything within that captures her love of Bagpuss. So I suppose anything from that episode would constitute her favourite song as well.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That's interesting. I didn't ask what her favourite episode was, did I?
No, you didn't ask what her favourite episode was. But when I asked her this, she didn't really have an answer to give. So she was like, oh, I can tell you my favourite episode instead.
Oh.
And then told me that.
I think it's because from the point of view of our household, and Elsie, who I think likes Bagpuss the most out of all of us, she's got the record of all of the songs that she listens to frequently. So I think that was just to satisfy her knowledge.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, she didn't say a favourite song, but favourite episode, definitely The Hamish.
So her dad, Peter Firmin, who died, I think 5 or 6 years ago now, he was responsible for a lot of other shows. And we asked you to ask her what her favourite show, aside from Bagpuss, that her dad worked on was. But I would like to take a guess. that it was the Clangers.
It was the Clangers, yes. I actually got the impression that she preferred the Clangers over Bagpuss. When I was standing with her, we were in the Beanie in Canterbury, which has a museum dedicated to small films, which was Peter Firmin and Oliver Postgate's production company. So you've got things from Poggleswood, the Clangers, Bagpuss, and just other stuff. And she actually seemed keener to talk to me about the Clangers in the initial. So yeah, no, 100% the Clangers.
Do you think that's because people ask her about Bagpuss all the time, but she wasn't actually in the Clangers?
Possibly. I think I don't know how or why. It was just a fondness within her that she seemed happier to reflect on the Clangers. I don't know. I think maybe she's just prouder of her dad for that work, because it lasted a lot longer as well.
Yeah, but I don't know. Do you think it's got the kind of legacy that Bagpuss has got?
Not quite, but it is up there. The fact that we're even talking about it and people know what we mean suggests, it's still up there. But no, Bagpuss has definitely outdone the Clangers, I'd say, across the 50 years.
I also prefer the Clangers. I'm very, very keen to do the Clangers on the pod, but we put it to a vote for Bagpuss over Clangers, and I think it was, 90% out Bagpuss over the Clangers, which was... Well, it's not disappointing because I love both of them. Does she own anything from the set?
So the ownership of it is a bit weird. Most of it lives at the Beanie. It's owned by Small Films, but they curated a display there dedicated to Bagpuss. So the original Bagpuss currently lives in the museum alongside Madeline, Gabriel, the mice, pretty much everyone and everything there. But she does occasionally find random bits around the house. So in the ballet shoe episode where it's like, is it a shoe, is it a boat, she happened to find the other half of that ballet shoe just in a box somewhere. So yeah, there's stuff still pottering around, but I think the stuff she does own is on public display mostly.
You had quite a nice experience at the Beanie, didn't you? You got to witness something quite emotional.
Yeah, no, this was really nice. So a woman who must have been in her 50s and her French husband came in, and I was getting Emily to pose with Bagpuss for some photos, and the woman just recognised her and she didn't really know how to interact. It's like, they say never meet your heroes, but this woman met her childhood hero, and because it's an inanimate object, he couldn't be a dick to her. So he just, it was a really sweet moment. She was moved to nearly tears, and you've got this husband who didn't grow up in this country and didn't really understand what was happening. But yeah, it was one of those very sweet moments to see, and it's just pure luck and coincidence that she got to meet Bagpuss that day.
Yeah,
so
it does
nice
sound
for her.
quite a nice thing to watch, really. But she probably gets it quite a lot.
I think Emily's used to it. But I mean, for the woman who got to hold and meet Bagpuss, that's really nice.
Yeah, that is special. How was it decided that she, over her sisters, was the child that featured in Bagpuss?
So Emily is the youngest of 6, so she was just the appropriate age. She was about 8 years old at the time, so the other sisters had been involved in the production of the other stuff going on. It was just Emily's turn. She says she recalls being paid in a bag of sweets. So that's what she got paid to be in the photos. She also says people are actually disappointed to find out she's not a really old woman. People look at the photos and expect her to be knocking on death's door, and actually you've got this quite sprightly woman in her 50s.
Well, yeah, because in the photos she looks a bit Victorian, doesn't she? But it's only 50 years old. So, yeah, I can see why people would expect that.
Yeah, but the first photos are just, I don't know where exactly they are. They are a random village somewhere in Devon, Cornwall, and they are from that period where everyone else thinks Emily should be from.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the photos of Emily are just taken on the family farm. It's actually her house. And then Bagpuss itself was made in a disused cow shed to the back of the farm, along with many of the other Small Films productions.
Oh, cool. And I think the last question we asked was, when was the last time you watched Bagpuss?
She couldn't recall, but
Sorry. Sorry, say that again.
She couldn't recall, but she is expecting to watch it again soon because, I mean, for the anniversary, she'll have events to go to. National media will interview her as well. So, yeah. And, I mean, there's an event on Bagpuss's birthday. Well, technically birthday, but she made the point to me that while it's a 50th anniversary, he's probably actually about 52, 53.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she'll have to watch it at some point between now and then to, you know, just get caught up on stuff.
What is she doing these days?
So she runs her own company. She's inherited both of her parents' artistic abilities, which is really nice. She runs a company now called Total Pap with her partner. I believe it's paper mache.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And she does a lot of charity stuff as well. So she works with a company called Hospices of Hope, which is the leading hospice care charity in Southeast Europe. So there's a Bagpuss wing in a hospital in Romania that was paid for with what Oliver Postgate used to call Bagpuss's pocket money, which actually means it was the royalties Oliver got from BBC for the replays of Bagpuss.
And of course it was replayed for many years, wasn't it?
It was replayed consistently for about 12 years. I think it was 1986 they altered the schedule.
That's incredible considering there were only 13 episodes of it.
Yeah, well, Emily wasn't entirely sure on this because there's another person involved called Dan Postgate, Oliver's son, who would know more, and I'm still yet to interview. But it sounds like only 13 episodes were commissioned and they just didn't commission any more. It wasn't an active decision to stop at 13. I think they would have kept doing it if they'd been given the go-ahead. But yeah, no, it stayed on for a remarkably long time and continues to get wheeled out every now and then when there is a slot available.
Which is very nice, that it's still got that legacy.
Yeah, no, definitely. And they all love it. I mean, they still vet all the toys that come out. And she said, oh, if Bagpuss's face isn't right, we all recognise that immediately. So the whole family are very protective over Bagpuss because, yeah, the face does have to be right. She said that's the key to Bagpuss. Peter Firmin used to think it was the colour, the pink and white. It wasn't meant to be pink and white. He was meant to be ginger marmalade. Emily doesn't agree. She thinks it's the face that is the key to why people love Bagpuss.
Well, that's the thing. It can be any pink and white striped cat, but if the face isn't right, it just isn't Bagpuss.
Yeah, no, that's what she said. And yeah, the face is such an expressive face, and yeah, it's just so important to them that Bagpuss is continuously portrayed in the right way.
Well, we're very grateful for you going out and doing the legwork that we were unable to do, and for coming on the podcast and explaining everything to us. And we're very grateful to Emily Firmin for agreeing to answer these questions.
Okay, no worries at all. And yeah, I'll pass on your love to her.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, it's quite obvious what that is. That is one dirty old shoe without any laces. Whatever is the use of one shoe? You couldn't wear it. You'd have to hop everywhere. You can't do anything with it.
Oh, yes, you can. You can do something with it. Old shoes are good shoes.
Oh, yes. Well, what can you do with an old shoe?
You can live in it.
Live in it?
Yes, of course. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe. Come on, mice. Have you got a roll of music for your mouse organ?
Right, who watched Bagpuss as a kid then?
I don't think I did, and yet I remember a lot about it. And I'm pretty sure I watched Clangers, so maybe I did watch Bagpuss. But I don't... Mum, Dad, get in touch. I don't know if I did.
I wonder,
but I know so much about it.
I wonder if because it feels so nostalgic, it's tricking you into thinking that you did in fact watch it.
Yeah, because on rewatching it, I've watched 6 episodes, I think, of only 13. And I've cried at the end bit of every single one.
Yeah. But Emily loved him.
Oh, don't.
I said to her, before she watched, we were having dinner, I said to her, "You are my weepiest friend." And then she goes, "Oh, no, surely not." And then an hour later sends a photo to the group chat of her crying at Bagpuss. And I'm like, yes, proving me correct. You are my weepiest friend. And I love you for it.
I could cry now thinking about it.
Bagpuss is, I mean, it's kind of strange to follow a Tracy Beaker episode with Bagpuss because that's two not serious episodes in a row, but we're finding it very difficult to make jokes about Bagpuss because it's kind of sacred.
Yeah, I needed to get all my laughs out of the way at the top of the episode because there are some things where, you know, the pod is called Thoughts TV. The USP is it, you know, being
irreverent.
Yeah. Witty, irreverent, as Netflix comedy as Netflix would describe us. But
British.
I simply don't have the heart to make like any crass comments, even for the, you know, for the pod, for the.
I'm sure we'll crack some.
Because nothing else I've watched made me cry out of what I can only describe as love. Like, yeah. I was watching it like, I love it so much that it's coming out of me.
It's called sentimental tears. You only have them as an adult.
What about you, Laura?
I don't have any concrete memories of watching it. Like, I have no familiarity with the plots of the episodes.
Surprise.
Or the imagery of the episodes.
Surprise.
But I firmly have always, like, it's always been present. I don't remember a time I didn't know what Bagpuss was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's just always been there. So I must have watched it. I definitely think
not necessarily because it's just very famous, isn't it?
Well, the thing is like, when I went to my nan's, I went to my nan's a lot, and we watched a lot of stuff on VHS. So if I watched it, I reckon it was there. And also my nan worked at a toy shop. So there was also lots of Bagpuss stuff at her toy shop.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. Christmas was great. But yeah, so I remember it, and when the theme song played, I was like, oh, this is familiar, but I don't have any specific Bagpuss memories.
I had a VHS of Bagpuss, which I played to death. I probably stopped watching it around the age of maybe 5. Like, I was very young, and I only remember watching it by myself. So either Arthur was not yet born or was a baby. It was I loved Bagpuss. I loved it. Or I don't know if I loved it or it was just something we had, you know, but I love it now. And I had two little dolls. One was Charlie Mouse and one was, I can't remember if it's Janie Mouse or Jeannie Mouse.
It's Janie Mouse. And I have a very, very clear memory of no one believes, by the way, that I remember this, but the millennium.
What, 2000?
Yeah, you're right. I don't.
I remember the millennium. I was born in 98.
Late 98 as well.
Yeah. But
she was just over 1.
I swear to God, I remember the night. It was New Year's Eve, and
I remember the turn of millennium. Wouldn't you know? It was New Year's Eve.
And I had Charlie Mouse and Janie because they were my Christmas present that year.
Aww.
Yeah.
My earliest memory is getting my eye taken out. So.
Yeah, we just.
Meg remembers 9/11.
I think it's, again, I don't know if I do or if I've just made up a memory based on what my dad had said to me. But
it was also the first night I ate a poppadom.
Yeah.
I was disappointed because my mum said it's like a big crisp, and it's not, is it? It's not salty.
It's made with gram flour, so
yeah, exactly.
There you
go.
Yeah. We just don't believe you because we don't remember as much of our childhood as you do.
So I just asked my brother and my dad just out of curiosity, because my brother's older than me. He probably does remember the tournament. He would have been 5. He said, I remember the name. I'm like, how dare you just remember the name of Bagpuss? Do you not?
So, it was made by Oliver Postgate and Peter Firmin, who together, from 1959 all the way up to the 80s, they had a production company called Small Films. it really is small. Like, the credits of Bagpuss are so bare. Like,
You were so excited to tell me and show me the credits.
yeah, I'm going to read them to you now because it feels everything about everything they've made. The Clangers, Ivor the Engine, Poggleswood.
Oh, that's a cute name.
It's a place. It's an actual wood in Kent.
Aww.
Yeah.
Small films made Ivor the Engine, Poggleswood, Clangers, Bagpuss. What are the other ones? And Noggin the Nog as well. That's the other really famous one. The credits of Bagpuss are incredibly bare, and it really shows just how homemade it was. So I'm going to read them to you. Written by Oliver Postgate, puppets by Peter Firmin, told by Oliver Postgate, Sandra Kerr and John Faulkner, pictures by Peter Firmin and Linda Birch, music by Sandra Kerr and John Faulkner, film by Small Films. That's the entire credits.
So 4 people.
Yeah.
I think it's amazing that something with so few people involved can have such a legacy. I think that's such an achievement to be proud of.
When we were watching it, there were like moments where I was like, okay, there's a good 3.5 minutes of stuff that they filmed once, reuse every episode, which makes it easier.
The opening and the end bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 13 minutes long and the opening is 2 minutes 50.
But then the actual like content of the episode, you're like, oh, fuck me, because there's so much work goes into every single episode. Like, they made a whole fucking quilt with multiple different bits to do a whole scene bit, and then like every single episode has a lot of special stylized animation that's specific to that episode, and it's just it was really surprising the sheer quantity of work that they put in every episode.
According to the Wikipedia page for Small Films, they produced work at an incredible rate. It was something like 2.5 minutes of broadcastable work every day.
Wow.
For stop motion, that's incredible.
I mean, it's janky stop motion. It might not get broadcast today because of how not smooth it is, but you know, who cares? It's perfectly watchable, and they produce so much of it at such incredible rate. And the reason that they had the production company is because Oliver Postgate was working in children's TV. I think CITV. Not CITV, because it didn't exist, as we know. But he was working in children's TV, and he was like, I think I can do something better with the budget that they're using.
He's fucking right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, literally in his shed, they made. So
what I read was it was a barn.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the first one was
a barn on the Firmin farm.
Yeah.
the Firmin
family
farm, was it?
yeah.
Okay.
I think
Firmin
it was
family
the family farm, yeah.
Right. So the first one was called Alexander the Mouse, and it was a series of stop motion films about Alexander the Mouse, and it was moved using magnets. Yeah. This is a really emotional episode, I feel like.
I love the mine.
I would love, like, my dad, our parents, or all of our parents, were definitely old enough for them to have watched this as kids.
Both my parents are younger than Bagpuss. How mental is that?
So what,
Yeah.
Bagpuss is at a max, like 52, 53?
Well, it's 50 years old.
Yeah,
It's the
since it was
50th anniversary,
broadcast.
but as you'll find out later,
Yeah.
Emily Firmin says it's probably about 52 years old.
So our parents are me and Elsie's parents are just older. So they probably watched it when they were like 5.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. So yeah, he was working in TV. He wanted to see what he could do with that budget, and so he convinced Peter Firmin, who was working as an art teacher, to provide to help him with the character models and the puppets and the
Presumably the drawings.
the still images in the backgrounds of the stories. So yeah, they did that, and I do not want this episode to turn into Elsie just reading quotes, but today I've come across like 2 or 3 really, really interesting articles about Oliver Postgate, Peter Firmin, Small Films, the music of Bagpuss, because it is very music-led. But there is a documentary, a BBC4 documentary about Oliver Postgate specifically. So obviously it is about small films, but it's about his life as well. And one of the talking heads in it is Andrew Davenport, or the voice of Tiny, and it's the first time I've ever heard his real voice. And it makes sense. He's like, yeah, when I did the Teletubbies, when I did, what's the other one he did? Oh, Tots TV.
I didn't want to say, I thought you were going for a different one.
He was like, yeah, I'm always thinking about the work of small films. And Oliver Postgate himself actually found, which I think is a bit ironic, he found Teletubbies to be very, very weird, and his reading of it was that it was a post-apocalyptic hellscape.
That makes sense.
Well,
I think if you're
mutated by radiation.
I think if you're the artsy type, you have these kinds of readings of things, don't you?
Exactly. I mean, that's what we thought about Lazy Town. So
that's what some people thought about Lazy Town.
It's what I think about Lazy Town.
Lazy Town to me is like if the people in Wii Sports got out.
Oh, they're out. Put them back in.
They're so fit. Oh no.
Get them back in the plaza immediately. Oh, do you remember when you could pick them up by their heads and they would wiggle their little bodies?
Spare.
So Oliver Postgate is the cousin of Angela Lansbury.
Really?
I remember us talking about this. By
Yep.
marriage.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No. All right.
His wife was person nay nay Lansbury.
Yeah, his dad's wife.
Was it his dad's wife?
Yes.
My apologies.
Apology. Okay, so Postgate was a nepo baby.
I don't know about that, to be honest, but he was the
Nepo
grandson
baby.
of
Nepo
he was the
grandson.
grandson of Labour leader George Lansbury.
Nepo.
He spent 3 months in prison for refusing military service during the war as a conscientious objector.
Relatable.
Legend.
Yes,
Legend.
legend.
Yeah, when we were looking at some of this stuff, I was like, oh my god, thank God they're left leaning, because if we found out that they were kind of fascist, I would have been so upset.
Sorry, do you think that fascists have got the capability to make something as moving as Bagpuss?
Meg, it keeps happening.
Laura, your glasses are wonky.
That's fine, I can see.
Yeah, but I have to look at you.
Towards the end of the war, he worked for the Red Cross doing social relief in Germany.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Feel bad for calling him a nepo baby. Sometimes it's true, but they are nice people.
So he was very much, because of his background and because of his grandfather, he was very much a socialist.
Right on.
Right on. So I recommend this documentary. I to be honest, I did mostly skip to the Bagpuss stuff. Like, the clanger stuff was really interesting because it was about all the techniques that they developed, but we're doing clangers another day and we've only got so much time. But something that I will say is that in the clangers bit, he gets out the sliding whistle and starts playing it like a clanger.
Oh, I love the clangers.
And it's so impressive. It's like he's using it like it's a conversation. So the way that they used to script the clangers is that his script would be on one side of the page, and on the other half of the page would be what exactly in human words what the clangers were saying.
Oh, look, Oliver, I found the world. And
yes,
I found the whistle.
Yes, oh, the whistle, yeah. Yeah, that's the whistle. This is Major Clanger's whistle. It's a very low register. Hope you understood that.
Which is very cool.
Yeah, they talk. Have you ever seen any of the?
No, I have no
clangers?
idea what.
They're like little mice creatures that live on the moon, and
They're
talk
like
in,
knitted
this
mice
whistle.
creatures.
Oh, I think actually that does sound familiar. So I was just reading it. He also did work with deaf children, and I'm like, this man is just so good.
Yes, that's right. Alexander the Mouse was made for deaf children because
Yeah.
it didn't. It was non-verbal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What a guy.
yeah. He was a very interesting, very cool guy. He actually, as a child, his father knew Bertrand Russell.
Yeah, and the woodpecker's based on him, isn't he?
Yes.
What's the woodpecker called?
Professor Yaffle.
Professor Yaffle. Yeah, he's
who's
based
that?
on Bertram.
You know Professor Yaffle?
No. Bertrand
Oh.
Russell.
He's a philosopher.
Yeah, he's a
Yeah.
sort of writer, speaker.
If
Thinker
someone,
man.
if someone
Thinker
wrote,
man.
if someone wrote a character based on me and it ended up being Professor Yaffle, I would be very unhappy.
Really, because I really related to Professor Yaffle.
Oh, I know. Poor old knobbly crocodile has lost his warm inviting smile because he's made to wear a pair of ears.
Yeah, but he's wrong about fucking everything with such confidence.
Yeah, me. And yeah, I relate so hard to Bagpuss. In fact, our friend Riley got me for my birthday a few years ago, like a crocheted Bagpuss, because he says that I yawn like Bagpuss. Like, I would yawn. Apparently I yawn like a cat. Like, you can see my tongue do the thing like a cat does.
You do, and you maintain eye contact as well. It's really
and at uni I would
look away.
I would yawn, and he would go, "Bagpuss gave a big yawn."
But you, when other people yawn, you try and put your fingers in their mouths.
Yeah, Bagpuss would do that if he had fingers.
In this documentary, his son, one of his 3 sons, compares Bagpuss to a pub situation. So, like, you've got Bertram Yaffle, who is, like, being confidently wrong and sort of... Yeah. And you've got Madeline and Gabriel, who are always, like, up for a song, up for a good time. And you've got Bagpuss. If you buy him a pint, he'll tell you a story.
I remember a story. It all happened a long time ago, when I was a sea captain and sailed the 7 seas. I steered my stout 2-masted ship before the western breeze.
I think it's so funny how the show calls everyone Bagpuss's friends, and yet they're quite clearly family who don't necessarily always like each other that much. It's so funny. It's like Professor Yaffle. Is it Professor Yaffle?
Yeah.
Professor. He's like that weird uncle you can't get rid of at a family. He's like, fuck off.
Is.
Not creepy, just the one
Weird.
that like the uncle in Dairy Girls.
Boring.
who doesn't stop talking.
I lived with someone in uni who was exactly like Professor Yaffle. And I made this connection when I was living with him and not just now. Like, I hated him. He was
Is it who I think it
yes.
is? Yeah, okay.
You mouth it to me.
No, you don't.
You don't know him.
So,
but I might have heard talk about them.
I honestly don't think you have. No. I don't know why we're whispering, because I could just edit it out. We're not going out live. Yeah. So he basically spoke like he knew everything. He would talk like that.
And he'd be wrong a lot of the time as
yeah,
well.
he would. Oh my god, he once asked me if I'd seen 3 billboards, but what he actually said was, "Have you seen 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri?" And I was like, "Oh, come on, man!" Like,
oh, sorry. Okay, when you said 3 billboards, I actually didn't know what you were talking about. So
yeah, he full named it. And what he would do is, like, we just disagreed on everything, and most of the time it was like completely inconsequential things, but the way that he would disagree with me and the way that I would talk back to him just made conversation so hard, because he took everything so seriously. Like, I remember one time I didn't convince him, but I tried to convince him that I had a gun license. And
you're so funny.
And I said to him,
I am so lucky to know you.
This is me fucking with the 9-year-old on the school bus.
So he wasn't convinced, but I thought it was funny to wind him up. So I said, yeah, I had one when I was 12. And he was like...
Where was he from?
From England.
No, yeah, but...
I don't know.
Okay. Was he Southern?
Yes, he was Southern.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
So he said, no, you didn't, because people in the UK you can't get a gun license. I was like, yeah, but I did though. Like, what if I did?
So also he's wrong. There's lots of people with guns in the UK.
and he was like, yes, but a 10-year-old can't have a gun license. I was like, yeah, but I did though. Like, he just wasn't... like, he was just that sort of person that was refusing to engage with the bits. Like, he was just... And Yaffle is the exact same. So whenever they finish, like, the most beautiful, lovely song, he'll be like, what complete fiddlesticks and flapdoodle. It's like, fuck off.
If you sit beside a pool when a summer evening evenings cool. See their shining bodies gleam as they flit above the stream. They would cause you no surprise, we would call them dragonflies. Yes, you and I would call them dragonflies.
Nip, 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 nip. Nonsense, rubbish. Dragonflies are just dragonflies.
He was supposed to be something. You said this earlier. He was supposed to be something else, a different, was it a person or a different animal?
I think that he was originally supposed to be a person,
Okay.
but it was
Too creepy.
Too creepy.
Yeah.
Yes. What I love about this family is the mice and Gabriel and Madeline are always like backing each other up. Like the mice will say something like with the elephant, it's like, it's a flying elephant. Nif, 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 nif. Elephants can't fly. And Madeline and Gabriel are like,
Dumbo.
yeah, but they can though. Like, what if they can? We've got a song about it, so they probably can.
It's very catty, and it hasn't any ears. I'm not surprised it looks sad.
Yes, it does look sad. Poor old thing. It's just as well it is a pink elephant, not a real one.
Why, what difference would that make?
If it was a real elephant, it couldn't fly.
Fly? Fly? Elephants don't fly.
I don't see why not. Pink straw elephants could fly.
Ridiculous! Who ever heard of such a thing?
The elephant is a pretty bird. Its hair is long and wavy. It makes its nest in a rhubarb tree and lays its eggs in gravy.
Ridiculous, ridiculous, ridiculous.
How about this? The elephant is a pretty bird. It flits from bough to bough. It makes its nest in a rhubarb tree and whistles like a cow.
No, ridiculous, ridiculous.
I loved it when Madeline and Gabriel will just go, okay, Professor, we have a song now, and just sing, but like so peacefully with no like malice. It's just song time, and the mice are always right as well.
Madeline speaks like a teacher. She's like, okay,
Yeah.
children, calm down now. We can all be right and we can all be friends.
It's like, Gabriel, do we have a song? It's like, yes.
And Gabriel's like, yeah, just take your clothes off.
Yeah, I don't want to go down this route again, but they felt very a team. They felt
were
like
a team. The team a way a couple should be.
Yes.
I think that not only do they both have really gorgeous singing voices, but they have really comforting, lovely, kind speaking voices.
They do.
I love them.
Quite right, mice. It's a rag doll's house, just like the one made by Uncle Fiedel.
Who's Uncle Fiedel?
I know Uncle Fiedel.
Yes, we know about Uncle Fiedel. We'll sing about him if you think about him.
So Bagpuss thought. Ah, yes, Uncle Fiedel. There he is.
Fully agree. I do find Madeline's flat face a little disconcerting. At least the first episode, I was like, oh, but then I got used to it, and then you just really like her presence because she is such a gentle presence.
She's not a mum, she's not a teacher, she's like a fun aunt kind of.
Madeleine, Madeleine, tell us true. Where is the house that belongs to you?
Me? A house that belongs to me? No, this is where I live. I'm just Madeleine, a doll made of scraps. You'll find me in a cupboard or a box, perhaps. If my mice are near, then my home is here. Though sometimes I wish I had half a dozen laps.
Yes, I love you all, yes. But there are rather a lot of you. Oh, down you get.
Kind of energy.
Pissed.
Yeah, potentially just really blissed out.
They're at a lock-in.
It is interesting you should say that, being blissed out and being a lock-in, because I have some information about the way the music was developed for this show. So in 2018, which was maybe a year or two after Peter Firmin had died and Oliver Postgate
I'm pretty
died.
sure Peter Firmin died in 2018.
Did he?
I think so.
One of them was 2008.
So that was Oliver Postgate.
Oliver Postgate, yeah, he died about 10 years before Peter Firmin.
Yeah. So
Yes,
they
2018.
came out with a vinyl of all the recordings, and not just the recordings, but like outtakes and
Yes,
like
and you've got
off-cuts.
it.
And I've got it. So I bought it in Manchester because I saw it and I knew about it. I knew it was coming out, and I knew it was like a big deal. They'd finally remastered all of these recordings, and it just sounded so clear and so perfect, and like you were there in that barn in 1974.
I didn't know it came out in 2018. But we were in a shop in 2018 in HMV, I think, and we pulled one out and was like, "Oh, Bagpuss!" And there's a picture of you holding it, doing a big yawn.
You need to dig that out because I don't remember that. But that's really funny.
So my dad was like, Elsie, this Christmas we've got you something. Oh my God, you are going to love it. And I kind of had an idea that that's what they got me, because it is so me.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And they had. So I was like, you keep that because I've already got it. So my dad has one and I have one.
And isn't the art so good as well? There's like comes with like little like a poster or something that you've got or you had pinned up in your room.
Yeah, it comes with posters of all the characters, and the inside cover is a short piece of writing by Stuart Lee.
Aww.
Yeah, you should read it. It's really nice.
I'm gonna read. I'm sorry, Laura's showing me the picture of Meg yawning.
Just a picture of Meg yawning.
Yeah, I'm gonna read a little bit of that piece of writing from Stuart Lee, because it's a really, really good piece of writing. It just captures the vibe of that record so well. So when it came out, there was lots of interest and lots of articles about the music and the making of the show and the genre of the music, and obviously I've read every single one of them. So there's quite a background. So let's go, right?
The bony king of nowhere, he sat upon his throne. He didn't much like sitting there because his throne was made of stone.
His throne was made of marble white, its feet were made of gold. It was a royal throne, all right, but oh dear, it was extremely cold.
Ewan MacColl. He was an actor, folk collector, folk musician, labour activist, and father of Kirsty MacColl.
Sounds like a top guy.
Yeah, and he was married to Peggy Seeger, who was also a folk musician. And her father, Peggy Seeger's father, was Charles Seeger, who was a folklorist and musicologist. So it all
when
all
your dad's
feeds in.
got a fake job.
And both of these people, they were founders of the Critics Group. So the Critics Group was a casual collection of musicians in the 70s, and they met up every so often to explore, and I quote, how best to apply the techniques of folk music and drama to the folk revival.
Sorry, yeah, they got together to get high.
Well, I'm saying nothing.
You're a bunch of folk musicians meeting up periodically in the 70s.
Yeah, to discuss interesting questions. Yeah, not a lot of talking.
Just like...
So there wasn't a permanent lineup. They would just like perform with each other on an ad hoc basis. And the group organised regular club nights. I'm reading from my notes here.
Oh, sick.
At the Union Tavern in King's Cross Road, which attracted musicians from all over the world. The best part of these evenings was often the lock-ins, which developed into impromptu musical sessions until the early hours of the morning.
Sick.
So there was this group of like folk musicians in the 70s that were basically trying to make a sort of British folk music revival, because it had been overshadowed by the American folk revival. Yeah. So people didn't really know anything about, like, all that music had sort of been lost. So Sandra Kerr, who voices...
Now I'm thinking about Morris dancing.
Well, that's part of it.
Yeah.
Sandra Kerr voices Madeline and John Faulkner voices Gabriel, and they did all the music for Bagpuss. So Sandra Kerr was the au pair for Ewan MacColl and Peggy Seeger, and her musical...
It's a small...
tiny...
What's it called?
Niche.
No.
Circle of people.
Circle of people,
Yes.
the British folklore music in it.
Honestly.
Yeah.
So her musical education came from those two, and her and John Faulkner are the kind of musicians that can basically pick up any instrument and just play it.
Oh, I'll tell you of turtles who swam in a lily pond around and around on a cold summer's day. They sang of their loved ones of whom they were very fond in their tropical homeland so far, far away. Oh, the turtles, they wept as they swam round their lily pool. We wish we could just see our loved ones one day. Said one, though you may think that I am a silly fool to go there by boat's a convenient way.
So they're basically
fucking twats.
Sorry,
I'm really bad at instruments.
They're
I'm just
still with us.
I'm just jealous.
Apologise right
I'm
now.
very sorry. My envy and jealousy has made me mean. These both can play instruments.
Don't be jealous. It's ugly.
It's unbecoming. They're basically folk music royalty, but yes, it's very niche, and no one knew who they were at the time. But Postgate and Firmin, they were looking for a couple of musicians to do Bagpuss with them, and Postgate, being the son of a socialist historian, he knew Ewan McCall, so that's how they got in contact. And this is where Michael Rosen comes into the story.
Oh, I love
I knew you would love that.
The poet?
Yeah, so when Michael Rosen's name came up, I was
the
like...
other famous Michael
He came
Rosen.
to my school when I was a kid.
I think he went to a lot of schools.
Yeah, he was so much fun.
But when I saw his name, I was like, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Of course he's here as well. So he'd written a show called Sam on Boff's Island, and Sandra and John had provided the theme music, and Peter Firmin had provided the animated sequences. So they were kind of aware of each other, but they never met.
Yeah.
So Sandra and John, they went down to Postgate's home in Kent, and this is a quote from Sandra. Red Lion House used to be a pub, which was a very good sign, especially to folk singers, and we got on like a house on fire. John and I were very left-wing. Oliver's father had written the definitive history of the trade union movement, and his uncle was
Jaws Lambring.
Yeah, we'll go with that. We had all kinds of links. And then Faulkner said he would give us a lyric, like the Bony King of Nowhere. He would say, can you write a melody for that? And then we would go away and throw it around and record a tune to a cassette in whatever room that was quietest.
It sounds like we would get on with these people.
Yeah. So it was a very music-led production, because they were sort of inspired by the music that they gave to them.
While we're talking about the sound, I guess, I had a thought while I was watching it on my own, that like some of the voice and stuff remind me a lot of the 101 Dalmatians Disney thing.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, I think it was Gabriel and Madeline, actually. They remind me of Pongo and what's the...
Pongo and Perdita.
Perdita. They remind me of their voices.
Right.
And then like some of the other dog characters, the sort of like weird voices, like professors.
The British accent.
Yeah,
yes.
like it reminded me a lot of that, and I was like, oh, this is so nice.
It is.
Yeah.
It
The
is.
music's obviously very different, but
So the music is taken from, like, one of the songs in it is a straight up like traditional folk song. Some of them, like the Old Woman Tossed Up in a Basket, which is my favourite one, actually.
What a name.
Like, that is a traditional Irish tune, but they've changed the words to make it more relevant to the episode, and also the original words are about wife beating. So
yeah, it sounds like a traditional Irish song.
Laura can say that, by the way. She's Irish.
Yep.
There was an old woman tossed up in a basket 17 times as high as the moon. Where she was going I couldn't but ask it. In her hand she carried a broom. Old woman, old woman, old woman, quoth I, where are you going to up so high? To brush the cobwebs out of the sky. Shall I go with you, I by and by?
It's all very unlikely.
A clever young mouse, he made a contraption, flippity flappity up it fly, pulling the handle with delicate action, flippity flappity up it flies. Oh Yaffle, so clever and wise, look at us, up we're flying, easy, it's easy, we're only just trying. Do you really believe
What's going on up there?
And some of them are original. The Miller's song is original. It's all there. I'm going to find that piece of writing by Stuart Lee. But talk amongst yourselves while I do that.
I like how the mice talk but don't talk.
I like how they talk as a collective. I love how they talk as a group. They're just sort of talking over each other.
They look like you could make them at home, the ones in this. And they remind me of like...
Isn't that kind of the point?
Yeah. They remind me of Sylvanian families.
Go on, do your little reading.
Okay, I'm going to read the bits that I think are the best, although all of it is the best, really. And then what stays depends on how long this episode ends up being, because I don't want this to just turn into me quoting things, but this is a very, very good piece of writing. As I write this, in June 2018, our parliament dissolves into a chaotic vortex of hate. The far right is on the rise, fueled by digital distortion and dark funding, and the fragmentation of British society seems to be driven by an especially toxic strain of nostalgia for times gone by and a festering anxiety over the exact nature of our British identity. How comforting and inspiring to be confronted instead with the memory of Peter Firmin and Oliver Postgate's Bagpuss, a homemade arts and crafts fantasy world built of better yesterdays and magical manifestations of a British landscape of the mind.
You can't see the face that Laura's making, but that's how that made me feel when I read it. I was just like, it's so lovely.
It's also like fucking miserable because that was 2018.
Yeah.
And it's only worse.
I'll go on and see if this makes you feel better. Sandra Kerr and John Faulkner's astounding Bagpuss soundtrack, which presses a distinctly English strain of traditional music, and one that inspired a generation of future folk stars to first take up their fiddles into service of an eccentric and authentically English vision, sounding with bell-like clarity across the decades. The laboratory conditions of benign broadcaster negligence and blind faith in the autonomy of the auteur that allowed Firmin and Postgate to develop era-defining works like The Clangers, Nog in the Nog and Bagpuss in the 50s, 60s and 70s have been focus grouped out of existence, with Postgate himself observing in 2005, "We were excused the interference of educationalists, sociologists and other pseudosciences, which have produced eventually a confection of formulae which have no integrity." So what do you think about that?
Well, both of me and Meg were on the verge of tears.
No, I did cry.
Meg was crying, yeah. Okay.
It's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
I will say, just to point towards the end, I get 100% what he's saying about the involvement of too many people. Like, well, he says pseudoscientists, and it's like, okay, but some people are actual scientists.
I do think that because Stuart Lee is a comedian.
Yeah, fair enough. But like, one of the things I was thinking about earlier is because I watched the thing about, you know, like the beige mums.
Yes.
Yeah. So like monochrome and beige mums who I with all respect, you shouldn't have to give up your how you like your house and how you like your aesthetics just because you've had a kid. But at the same time, color is important for development. Like, it's really important for development, for language, emotional development, just general social development. Like, don't deprive your children of color. And when I was watching Bagpuss, it hits the like perfect amount of color.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm gonna go on reading, and he does mention this, but it's the fact that it's in black and white, and then it turns into like ever so slightly psychedelic pink.
Yeah. It's like, because there's a right amount of, obviously it's a pretty broad window, but there's a right amount of color for children. Like, there's overstimulating, but Bagpuss like hits that sort of natural color scape perfectly.
And he's stripy.
Oh. I can't remember which one of you I said this to. I said he's like the Cheshire Cat's friendly cousin.
Yeah. Right.
The nice one. The good one in the film. Everyone's got a weird cousin.
The circumstances that gave Kerr and Faulkner's music a sense of timelessness in that it drew on traditional sources, and immediacy in that tradition was in the midst of an expansive cultural resurgence, the 50s folk revival bleeding into psychedelic rock, children's television soundtracks, and a strange cinematic strain of rural folk horror, could not be recreated now, and any similar approach by definition would be somewhat ersatz.
I really like it when, not necessarily children's media, any media, like revels in where obviously this can go in a weird direction, but like revels in where it comes from, like it's very British and it enjoys being very British in niche and unusual ways because the folklore side of it, the folk music side of it. And like it reminds me a little bit also of like Winnie the Pooh, because that feels very quintessentially British, and also like kind of Robin Hood in these ways that is like very hard to explain.
Yeah. I mean, until I'd read that little passage as well, I'd never made the connection between Bagpuss and folk horror.
Because I love folk horror.
Yeah.
I love folk horror.
Because he goes on. I might read it, I might not, but he goes on and compares it to when they went back and found the original recording for the music of The Wicker Man. It's a very similar thing. That all got produced during a 70s revival of folk music, and he calls it acid folk. I think it's like Bagpuss is a gorgeous blend of acid folk and rural folk horror. It's
kind of weird with like Alt J's first album is apparently experimental folk.
Yeah, I see that.
Baker, baker, the flour is here, soft and fine and bland. Baker, baker, get out of bed, put that silly old hat on your head. Bake me a loaf of golden bread, and then I'll go.
Blow the wind and rain the rain, fall the shivery snow. Soon the sun will shine again as the year will go.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
There's so much to look at when it comes to Bagpuss, and obviously like children's media being quite artistic, it's not rare, but it is rare to feel so closely connected to it. It's like we look at the art of like original Disney, and I know you two especially really appreciate it and really like it. Some of them you think are really beautiful, and that's true, but it's got like a soul that so much stuff for kids doesn't have, especially anymore.
Yeah.
And you feel like you can reach out and touch the objects.
Yeah.
Well, it's the thing, people have been, about the latest Disney film, they've been saying that a lot about Wish, because it's, people are saying it looks AI generated, and they did a particular thing that you do in TV animation that you don't normally see in film animation that actually makes it look cheaper, which is what maybe people think that. But the movement away from hand animation, or like stop motion animation, where the hand of the person doing it is inevitably really interconnected with it because they've moved every single thing, that you can feel that so much in Bagpuss, and it is going away as time has moved on.
You don't have loads of like producers, studios, executives between you and the thing we're looking at.
That's true, yeah, because it's
like,
such a short credits.
It's short credits. It's like we have enough of a connection to it that my boyfriend has been able to interview Emily Firmin.
Has been on the land where it...
Yeah, like that. That's rare. That's so rare. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with new Disney. It's entertainment, right? It's well known about me that I think Frozen 2 is a fantastic film. I actually love it. I think it's really, really
It's really funny.
But the animation that we don't have as much of anymore, like this kind of thing, like stop motion stuff, more hand-drawn stuff.
This is like with Wallace and Gromit, you can see their thumbprints on the characters.
It's like connection that we're losing, I feel. I think this is why Studio Ghibli does so well still. You even have different animators in Studio Ghibli working on the same film that still have a distinct enough style that you can tell who's done what.
Yeah. So The Boy and the Heron, it was a small team of animators, I can't remember how many, but they didn't have due date. What would that be?
Deadline.
They didn't have a deadline. So they just were like, okay, we've written it, we'll see what we do as we go, we'll see how long it takes us. And that gives, I think, breathing room in industries where this is like video game development, crunch time is so prevalent, and it is soul killing for artists who just want to do something they love. but it's killing them.
Yeah, because Miyazaki was like, we're doing a film, you'll get it when you get it.
Yeah.
This is a difficult episode because all of us tonight, for some reason, are struggling with speech, which is not ideal for podcasts, but we have so much in us to say about Bagpuss. It's just like trying to get it out into coherent words.
I really liked that his head kind of looks like it's a satellite dish.
It's got a big head, hasn't
the way it moves is like...
I like the way how he looks like he has some weight to him.
Yeah, he does look heavy.
I've seen him, and have we all seen him?
I think we've all seen him.
I have, yeah, because they're on exhibition at the Beanie in Canterbury, and if you have the opportunity to go, it's not a huge exhibition.
It's a tiny exhibition,
but they've got the
clangers,
the clangers, Bagpuss. I think Rupert Bear's there as well. Actually,
I've seen.
He's creepy.
I love Rupert.
I've been
Bear.
to the Rupert Bear exhibition they had in Canterbury,
Yeah, so
and
did
then
I.
the Bagpuss one, and like. Oh, I forgot what I was going to say. I did want to say, because it's stop motion, they're so physical. And the fact that you have the record rather than the digital disc. And I think that's one of the things.
It came out on vinyl.
Really?
I
nice.
think so. Yeah, I think so.
Because
I mean, it's on Spotify now as well. But
you watched it on VHS.
I did.
You touched it. Like that. This feels like I'm going on a weird route, but it's such a physical piece of media.
Yeah.
All of us have very physical connections to it.
We have, all three of us have a kind of, like, I think it's I am about to make a point. All of us have like a kind of fascination with film photography, so we've all got film cameras, and we all, like, for example, every time I go on holiday I take a disposable camera with me, or 2 or 3.
Well, now you've got a camera that's more
I've got a
refillable.
half frame, and so's Laura, and like my boyfriend does, and you do as well. So he's got a Polaroid, and you've got a film camera. And
I have a broken Polaroid.
I had to explain. Well, my granddad asked me like why I wanted one, because he gave me an old film camera of his, and was like, "Why are you bothered?" And it made me think about why we, as a kind of generation, like, we like vinyls, we like film photography, we like that sort of thing.
I like books.
We've had this before on the podcast, but we as a generation like physical things because we've grown up in like a digital age, or moving into a digital age, that we have loads of photos on our phones and that kind of thing, but it's nice to have something physical to show for it. And that's how I feel about Bagpuss. It's like Bagpuss exists. It's not merch made out of, it's like that comes out of a lot of like Disney films and that kind of thing. He's an actual thing that exists that you can go and look at.
Even like, so my supervisor has a teenage son, and I think this is common among their lot. I wouldn't do this personally, because he's gotten really into cassette tapes. He has a Walkman. And I'm just like, interesting choice of all the things, an interesting choice, because that's not the best quality ones, but all right.
My boyfriend has a cassette player because I bought him one, because a few years ago I bought him like a limited edition cassette, and I thought, I'll buy him a Walkman so he's got something to play it on. But like every year since, I've bought him like a personalised cassette, like a mixtape of all the songs that, like, the top ones he's been listening to in the car that year. And I think it's a really cute thing to do.
I remember when I was little, I had one of those Fisher-Price little, I guess, stereo things, but it was for recording onto tapes. That had a little face on it, had a little microphone, and I would just go around going, "Say something."
And I had one of those Happy Meal toys that played music that was current at the time. And I looked at the little discs that you put in.
Yeah.
So the documentary made this point, which I think is so very astute. So watching it, I think me and Laura watched a bit together, and we were like, it's very Repair Shop.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't need to explain this, but basically, Emily takes a broken thing to.
Well, she says shop. Sorry, Emily, you're
shop.
running a lost and found.
Yeah, she takes it and it's broken, and the mice fix it, and they all work out what it is, and Bagpuss tells a story about what it is, and of course, as always, his thoughts appear like magic.
Yeah, I love it. Like Madeline goes,
and you watch it.
Bagpuss, could you think about this, please? And it becomes real.
So Bagpuss thought. He thought so hard, his thoughts appeared like magic.
And they sing a song, and the mice have a marvelous mechanical mouse organ that plays the film that they've got the rolls.
The
marvelous mechanical mouse organ.
That's why we said it was very repair shop, because they're repairing an item, and that item always has a story and has a background and has something attached to it. And
less dads in this though.
Less dads. It's always to do with their dad. It's this is my dad's. This is my dad. And this documentary made the point of Bagpuss is ultimately, you can't separate it from the socialism of the creators, because it's about
good.
It's about working together. It's about reusing things. It's ecological. It's about connecting with the past. It's about connecting with things, connecting with people.
It's down with the bourgeoisie.
And magic.
And magic.
Is magic socialist? Yes, it is. It's very
she
socialist.
basically wishes Bagpuss alive because she loves him so much.
Because she loves him so much.
Also, magic is a great equalizer.
It is.
Oh, Meg.
Meg's
But
crying.
Emily loved him.
Oh. So Oliver Postgate is the voice of the narrator of Bagpuss and of Yaffle. Yep.
No, Bagpuss. Bagpuss, these mice are being silly again.
Yeah. Oh my god, I think, I was on the phone to my dad last night. It was like, Yaffle was a twat, wasn't he? Well, yes, he was, because they'll tell a beautiful story, it'll cut away, there'll be like a moment of silence, there's lots of air, there's lots of silence.
There's breathing room.
There's breathing room, and Yaffle will just go, nonsense. Like, come on, man.
What a pretty story. What a delightful story. Absolute rubbish, every word of it, but quite delightful.
So yeah, it's a very socialist show, and I think that's good, and I think it is absolutely
good
obvious.
And proper. Teach the children socialism.
It's obvious that it is. And there's a quote from Sandra Kerr, who was in this documentary, and I'm not going to get it right, so I'm going to tell you to, but I'm going to actually put the quote in the show.
The whole ethos of Bagpuss, which is about using things in a different way, or finding broken things and mending them and investing them then with a magical kind of property. I think that was way ahead of its time, and frankly I think it was way ahead of us too. John Faulkner and I were very politically conscious young people, but our politics only extended as far as where we were going to build the barricades. This much deeper ecological, environmentalist kind of approach that Oliver had has only grown on me over the years, and I've seen how far-sighted and ahead of its time it was.
We're very political young people, but our politics just extended to where we're going to build the barricades. And I was like, oh, that's just where it extended to? Okay. Then since they stopped making films, he was just sort of a bit of a political activist, and that's what he wanted to do. He didn't want to do anything else.
Fair play to the guy.
He just couldn't do something without making a point, basically. Yeah.
Just accidentally putting hammer and sickle in everything. It's just an accident.
It's not an accident. It's not an accident.
Anyone got any favourite bits?
I really liked the animated bit with the ballet shoe where they go
they row it.
They row the boat
with feathers
through the house, and they get all sticky and they wash in orange juice, and I'm like, that's not gonna help.
That thing was like, they didn't actually fix anything in that episode, they just fucked around with it and then put it in the window.
I dreamed a dream of two fine mouses, tall they were and true. They lived in one of your stately houses, in jackets of blue and braided trousers, and happy as ever a mouse is, though there were only two, though there were only two.
Row, row, row the boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream.
But one mouse said, let's leave these shores, let's sail away, dear, please. This shoe will do if we hold the oars and row it along with our delicate paws. We'll row it across the mahogany floors till we find the Stilton cheese, till we find the Stilton cheese.
I liked the episode where with the one with the ballet slipper with the little old woman who lived in a shoe, and there's loads of kids in this shoe, and she's spanking one of them, and you can see his little bottom.
Oh, when me and Laura were watching the one with the beautiful song about the dragonflies, about how dragonflies came into existence. It's a really, really gorgeous song. It's a gorgeous episode.
Yeah.
And you know how it sort of focuses in on the still images? It was like focusing in. If you know your Bagpuss, you know exactly which bit I'm talking about. It's like got a picture of a mermaid princess surrounded by all these like fool princes. And it zoomed in on one of the princes. Dad-ass.
Yeah, dad-ass.
Oh my god.
Cake.
He was so caked up.
He was. We were both so surprised. It's like, oh.
This is why we have to explain to Laura what the phrase caked up means.
It's not a drug thing.
I thought it was a makeup.
She gets all of her culture and references from us. So if we haven't said something to Laura, you can't expect her to hear it. To know it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you guys watched the Wise Man episode.
Yes, I watched the Wise Man one. Yeah,
I was vaguely
the turtles.
Yeah, I was vaguely worried when it started because I was like, "Oh, this was a long time ago. Please stay on a nice." And they do.
Yeah, it's about an old wise Chinese man.
Yeah,
I will begin the story. It was a long time ago. There lived on an island by a lake in Lingpo a wise man. He was very old and very wise, and all he wanted to do was sit beside the lake and think, and watch the leaves growing on the trees. His favourite companions were the turtles, who would come out of the water to sit beside him.
But yeah, and then they do it in sort of traditional Chinese ink style.
Yeah, I noticed
and I thought that was really cool. I really liked that, and it gave slightly like Buddhist fable because of the tortoises and stuff. I really liked it.
Yeah, I was worried, and then at the end, Yaffle says, "He's not a stupid man. The Chinese are very polite to each other."
Yeah, they're very polite people. And I was like, oh, sure.
I liked the Hamishes.
Oh, I loved the Hamishes.
The Hamish episode was so... Oh, that one... You guys came home when we were watching that one, and I was like...
Yeah, when I was very young, because of that episode, I genuinely was
Did you think bagpipes were little creatures?
Yes. I wasn't entirely sure what they were, but I had an idea that they were alive.
Oh, yes, I think I know what that is. I think that is a sort of small, soft Hamish.
And what is a small, soft Hamish, if you please?
Ah, it's an old story. A sad story from the Highlands of Scotland, I will tell you. In the far north of Scotland, there once was a sort of creature who lived in lonely, cold, damp places. They kept away from people and lived alone because they were shy and rather frightened sort of creatures.
I love the idea of a naturally occurring tartan. you take a wrong turn in the Highlands and you found animals that just are tartan. That'd be amazing.
I mean, that is basically the episode.
That's what kilts are made out of.
Oh,
oh, too far.
They're just dark.
The pelt of a Hamish.
The pelt of a Hamish, yeah. The hide.
That's so funny.
And then, yeah, bagpipes are the body of a Hamish. Ooh.
Yeah. If you haven't seen this episode, the thing Emily brings in is a tartan pin cushion, as it turns out to be, but it sort of looks like bagpipes
shaped.
Bagpipes without the pipes. Yeah, Bagpuss makes up a story about them being wild creatures in Scotland.
Small fairy creatures.
Small fairy creatures, yeah. It's very cute. And when they walk or when they move, they make bagpipe noises.
Oh, they sort of waddle along.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, let's imitate the sound of a bagpipe, but I cannot even fathom how to do that.
And they're almost, their whole body is the shape of Peppa Pig's head.
Yeah.
A hairdryer.
A hairdryer.
It's so difficult to pick out favourite moments because it's all so lovely.
Oh, it reminds me a little, you know that fish children's book that was all sparkly and watercolory?
Yeah. The rainbow fish.
The rainbow fish.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff kind of reminds me of that vibe.
Well, it's kind of hazed out, isn't it?
Yeah, and twinkly.
Yeah. I like the bit where they have the wind-up ballet dancer and Yaffle falls in love with it and starts dancing around it.
Yep, yep, yep. Oh, yep, how charming, charming. Oh, quite charming. Oh, delightful. Oh, I am moved. What a delightful young lady. Oh, mice, mice, dear mice. Do please wind her up and play her again. Oh dear, yeah, no. Oh, I'm a bit tied up. Oh dear. Yep.
Yaffle dancing is such a delightful
It is,
sight.
yeah.
And we have to talk about the mouse mill.
That's what I fell asleep watching it because
Shame.
I'm very sleepy and
Shame
it's
on
very
you.
lovely and I was comfy.
It is very relaxing.
Yeah.
Breadcrumbs and butterbeans.
I love that Yaffle just doesn't believe them. He's right, but he just is like, no, I need to see the inner workings of this for myself.
Fair play, question everything.
That episode made me go out and buy chocolate biscuits.
You've eaten half of them.
No, I haven't.
Not a toy. A real mouse mill.
A real mouse mill. What does it make?
Chocolate biscuits.
Chocolate biscuits. Oh, ridiculous. Fiddlesticks and flapdoodle. There is no such thing as a mill that makes chocolate biscuits. What does it make the chocolate biscuits out of?
Breadcrumbs and butter beans.
Oh, no. Ridiculous. You can't make chocolate biscuits out of breadcrumbs and butter beans.
Are you ready, mice? All mice ready for duty, sir. Butter beans and breadcrumbs ready for inspection, sir.
What else do I like in Bagpuss? Oh, it's Gabriel is the only non-stop motion character. He's a hand puppet.
He is.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you told me that, I was like, oh, that makes sense because he is
so smooth.
So smooth. Yeah. Like, wow. I think it'd be a great show, like, because sometimes kids get really hyper and you need to do something to sort of wind them down, right? You need like a relaxed time. My aunt does this quite well. And I think Bagpuss would be a really good show to put on to make your kids wind down.
Did you see the ship in a bottle episode?
No, sorry.
It's the first episode. There's a ship in a bottle, and basically what Emily brings is a bottle with some bits inside, and the mice decide to shove Charlie Mouse in the neck of the bottle. So they work like very much as a mob to the mice.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and they get a bit overexcited, and Madeline has to be like, stop. So they were shoving him in, and Madeline was like, stop that. You're going to hurt Charlie Mouse. So they pull him out, and there's like a little pop noise.
Stop at once. Stop.
We will wash it.
You will do no such thing. That is a very delicate piece of fabric. If you go bashing and scrubbing at it, you'll spoil it forever. You must treat it gently, lovingly, and very politely.
We are very fond of you. We love you very much.
That's better.
I like the bit where she asks the mice to do something and tells them not to sing.
Yes.
And the mice go, we mice love to sing while we work. We're going on strike.
Yeah, that was so I loved that bit.
Yes, indeed. All right, mice, you can sing if you work at the same time.
Mice like to sing. Mice not sing. Mice not work. Mice strike.
Oh, indeed.
I don't know how they did the talking, but...
Yeah, I was wondering that.
But the round that they sing, the we
Yeah.
will fix it, we will whatever, that was Sandra Kerr and John Faulkner singing slowly, sped up.
Ah, okay, that makes sense.
Oh.
But I've no idea how they did the talking.
We will glitter it prettily pink. We will gunge it, then we'll sponge it. We will bring it up soft as ship. That is better now, don't you think? That is better now, don't you think?
Until I rewatched it, I thought I'd made up the bit at the beginning that goes Bagpuss, Bagpuss, old fat furry cat puss. And because I have a Bagpuss in my room, often see it and have that in my head. Aww. And I thought I don't know why, I thought I'd made it up.
To be fair, I mean, sometimes I go back and I watch stuff from when I was a kid and I was like, I fully made up an ending. This did not happen. I'm now disappointed.
Laura said last night 2 very funny things. No, not last night, when we were watching it. You said, Yaffle sounds like K9.
He does. He sounds like K9. He so much sounds like K9.
You also said, because of Bagpuss thinking and his thoughts appearing like magic, you said Bagpuss has generative AI in his I like the bit where they're telling the Princess and the Frog story and the princess kisses the frog and turns into a frog, and she's much happier for it.
No,
I
the
think
frog
that's nice.
kisses the princess.
Oh,
because if the princess kisses the frog, he turns into a prince. And he was like, no, I don't want that for me.
Yeah, he was like, I'm a frog. I don't want to stay that way.
I do not have to marry you as you are. This is a fairy tale, and I have but to place a tender magic kiss upon your ugly brow, and you will turn into a handsome prince. Oh, no, you don't, said the frog, keeping well out of reach. I'm Frog, and I want to stay Frog. I'm not turning into any handsome prince, thank you very much. The princess sighed again. Oh, Frog, how sensible you are.
I love that for him. I was like,
be sure of who you are.
Yeah.
I found the Elephant with No Ears episode to be really sad. I don't think you two have seen it, but
No.
I found it really genuinely sad as a kid, and still now I watch it, I'm like, I don't like this. And it does have a melancholic quality to, like, very much, right? Would you say?
Oh, yes, of course. I'll think some more.
I don't know if that's us projecting onto it because of so much other stuff. If we watched it naturally in the 60s or 50s when we were very young, I don't know if it would have had the same.
You know, it came out in the 70s.
It's 50 years old.
Sorry. Oh my god. I'm doing that. 2000s, 50 years ago was the 50s.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I don't know if we had watched it in the 70s naturally, if that melancholic.
Well, Michael Rosen said that when he watched it with his kids, one of them was into it and the other one he couldn't get with it at all, and he said he thought he sensed the sort of sadness in it.
Oh.
I don't know.
Very thoughtful child.
Well, yeah. Well, no, I mean, you pick up on vibes, don't you? I mean, there was...
Yeah, but stupid children don't.
Fucking hell.
Okay.
All right.
Or very young.
Yeah, very young. Yeah.
I mean, I was about 4, but like there is a sadness there, I think. I can't explain it. I think it's just the sort of nostalgia and
yeah.
I
mean, that's the question for people who watched it originally. Did it feel nostalgic from the off?
Yeah,
which none of us can answer.
Is there anything else we want to say?
Just that I love it.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, this is completely a side note, but tangents be what tangents are. While we were watching, we
tangent is as tangent does.
Yes. Monkey see, monkey do. When we were watching it on Daily Motion with this person who has uploaded just reams of stuff from the 70s, and we came across a show that neither me or else had ever heard of, but you've heard of it.
I'd heard of it. I'd never seen it.
It's bonkers. What was it called?
The Flumps.
The Flumps.
Yeah, they've never heard of the Flumps, and me and my dad my mum used to work night, not like evening shifts, and we'd go, I was too young to be like left at home by myself, so we'd go pick my mum up and we'd be like waiting in the car park for her outside, and we'd duet the Flumps theme tune. And my dad's definitely never ever told anyone that, but it's actually quite a good memory from my childhood.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
But it's just like they're living meatballs.
Yeah.
What a discovery.
Meg, tell the other story about your dad and you in the car when you were a child, because this is so funny. I love this story.
Have I never told it?
I don't think so. I love this story.
I was young enough to like, I don't know if I was sat in the back or if he just forgot that I was there, but he was driving me home from somewhere and it was dark, and someone like cut him off or did something stupid, and road rage got the better of him, and he swore, like he called this guy a something like that, something,
an awful spiel of language.
Yeah. And apparently, little me, he says, this little voice came out of the darkness, and I said, "Are you talking to me, Daddy?" He was like, "No, sweetheart, I'm not talking to you."
He just felt so bad.
And he felt so bad, like to the point where he still tells the story. He's like, "Yeah, I felt awful, yeah."
So this is the last paragraph of the Stuart Lee thing. So actually, when we first got this record, my mum read the inner sleeve. She read this bit, and she said, "I don't know what he's talking about." Like we're all big Stuart Lee fans. I don't know if you can tell just by the vibes. Yeah. The conduit of the cloth cat carried this music into the minds of a generation, subversively softening them towards the often maligned music of their own islands. And now it can take its place alongside Langhorne's aforementioned Hired Hand soundtrack, the folk opera of the Wicker Man's collected cues, and the scrappy fragments of Pentangle's music from the film Tam Lin as an accidental classic of the folk roots underground that we never dared hope we'd hear with such clarity.
Aw,
that's nice, isn't it?
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Would this basket fly? This basket here?
No, of course not. Though I suppose it could be made to fly. There must be something that flaps air like a bird's wing does.
I know. Mice, look on the shelf there, behind the blue and white jar.
Come on, look. There are two sort of stick things here.
Thank you. Now, look at this.
Ooh!
Isn't that beautiful?
What is it for?
This is a fan. You flap it and it blows cool air on you to keep you cool in warm weather. Like this.
Should we do final comments?
Yeah. I love it.
Me too.
I want to show my cousins it because I don't think they've seen it. So next time I see them, I'm going to force them to watch it.
I'm really glad that we're doing this on the cusp of the anniversary. It works.
Yeah, thanks Meg's boyfriend for highlighting the upcoming anniversary.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Do it now because the anniversary's coming up. Thank you, Meg's boyfriend.
Yeah.
And we will hear from him soon.
Or have already heard from him.
One of the two.
Something that makes me happy is that I loved it when I was a kid and I love it now, potentially even more. And I'm so glad it exists. I'm so glad. I mean, I actually don't have anything insightful to say, to be honest. I'm done with my insightfulness. I just love it.
I'm really glad it's still super accessible. Like, it isn't lost media. It isn't even close to lost media, and I'm really glad of that.
Yeah, I mean, these recordings are found media, really. I mean, I'll see if it's possible for me to put some of the outtakes on the episode we're going to put out, because you can just hear them laughing and going for like more takes. It's incredible because they literally just recorded in the room they could find that was the quietest. There's nothing
Relatable.
professional about this. It's so
relatable.
Yeah.
We should have more kids' TV made in people's barns.
Yeah.
How many people do you know that have a barn?
One.
Yeah.
Well, Tots TV was kind of made in a barn.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, you don't know anyone with a barn. Yeah, I do.
No, I knew you did, but I knew it was one.
She grew up in a village, so like her nightclub was a barn, basically.
Actually, it was a town. I grew up in a town.
I grew up in a village.
It's a town.
Is it a town?
Yeah, it's a
right.
town.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I grew up in a village. parish council, so it's a village. It's a village.
Yeah, town council, so it's a town.
Some of us grew up in a city.
Oh, well,
city council.
You've had city air your whole life. You have no idea what the country smells like.
Go and breathe some country. Look at a cow, bitch. Sorry, this isn't it. It isn't acceptable to speak to each other when we're talking about Bagpuss like this.
It's so.
I'm sorry. I apologise.
I've got one last thing to say about it. I think that the sheer amount of effort and love that is put into every single second of it makes the subject, whatever they're talking about, feel like the most important thing in the world when they're talking about it.
Yeah, I get you.
And not in a pretentious way.
No,
it's very unpretentious.
Yeah, like a broken statue comes into the shop and they find a story about it that they managed to animate in a sort of scratchy, horrible way, and they sing a folk song about it, and it just, the focus and the effort that is clearly put into this 13 minutes makes tiny items that you feel like you could reach out and touch just feel like the most important thing.
It's very like when you were a kid and you could play with literally anything. You give me a couple sticks and a ball and I'll figure out a story or something.
Yeah.
It's nice that it shows you that everything is important.
Yeah. Even lost things, especially lost things.
And the stakes couldn't be higher for things that we just don't think about day to day.
Yeah. And everything deserves to be remembered.
Yeah.
Well, with
nice.
that...
You can find us on Twitter.
It's weird being this sincere.
At thoughts__TV.
You can find us on Instagram at ThoughtsTV, the O is a 0, or TikTok at ThoughtsTVPod.
You can email us at thoughtstv2002@gmail.com, and we have a Discord server that's just ThoughtsTV, or the link is on the socials.
It feels so weird to sully Bagpuss with the word thought.
Yeah, it does. It does. But the clangers used to swear, so
did they?
It was in the script. You didn't hear it, but in the minds of the creators, yes.
It's like in Puss in Boots when they bleep.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I don't think the creators would care.
Yeah, no, I don't think so either. Happy birthday, Bagpuss.
Happy birthday, Bagpuss.
And so their work was done. Bagpuss gave a big yawn and settled down to sleep. And of course, when Bagpuss goes to sleep, all his friends go to sleep too. The mice were ornaments on the mouse organ. Gabriel and Madeleine were just dolls. And Professor Yaffle was a carved wooden bookend in the shape of a woodpecker. Even Bagpuss himself, once he was asleep, was just an old, saggy cloth cat. Baggy and a bit loose at the seams. But Emily loved him.
Thank you, Emily Firmin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, thank you. And thank you, Meg's boyfriend, for coming
Yes.
on the show as well.
He who shall not be named.
We might have him back. Who knows? We'll see how this goes down.
I would feel so bad doing an episode on Paddington without having a bit from him.
I was thinking that earlier.
He does love it so
He
much.
does.
The thing is, I know we're not in the habit of inviting guests on, like it's kind of just not possible. It did feel rude to be like, go do this work for us and then don't report your findings yourself.
Yeah. Your findings.
Your findings.
She's a person.
No, I know, but he did the work for us.
Right. Sweet dreams, everyone.
Night night.
You're probably travelling to work.
Yeah, have a good